You're listening to KEXP. You can find us at 90.3 FM in Seattle, streaming around the world at KEXP.org. I'm Cheryl Waters, and I am delighted to have the Clientele live in the KEXP studios. Welcome.
Thank you.
So wonderful to have you here, and a new album called Music for the Age of Miracles. You're going to start us off with an oldie, it looks like.
Yeah.
All right, it's the Clientele live on KEXP.
Kids all jumping bonfires on the heath. Kids all jumping bonfires on the heath. How am I gonna get myself to sleep? Late October sunlight in the wood. Late October sunlight in the wood. Nothing here quite moves the way it should. Laughing windows up and down the street. Laughing windows up and down the street. And the walls are closing in on me. Kids all jumping bonfires on the heath. Kids all jumping bonfires on the heath. How am I gonna get myself to sleep?
That is so beautiful. The title track from the 2009 album Bonfires on the Heath from the Clientele. We're so happy to have them live in studio tonight playing here in Seattle at Neumos.
Let's fall, let's rise. Turn your face and what rain needs sun. Dancing through the night, far in the line we'll climb. I don't know, but tonight, everyone you meet breathes love. And soft and slow. Blue, very blue. I can't sleep at night. I don't know what to do. Sha-la-la-la, sha-la-la-la-la, 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 sha-la-la-la-la. Everyone you meet breathes love. Soft and slow. Blue, very blue. I can't sleep at night. I don't know what to do. Play as fall, play as rise. Turn your face and what the rain needs sign. Dancing through the night, faces to me down on the silver street. I can't get over you. Everyone you meet breathes love. And soft and slow. Blue, very blue. I can't sleep at night. I don't know what to do.
The Clientele live on KEXP. That was a new song from the album Music for the Age of Miracles. Every song has its own tuning, it sounds like.
Swallows squeal from sun-bleached leaves. Trucks glow on peripheries. Light the lamps, the empty house is falling. Turning corners into light. Turning corners into light. Light the lamps, the empty house is falling. Always tonight, I'm coming home. I have no other dream. Mother above on window panes, the grey light of the sea. Always tonight, I'm coming home. The Pleiades and the line. Over the cranes, the harbour lanes, the world will end in fire. Lately I've been living like I'm so far away, like I'm somebody else in some other place. Now the year is turning and the eeriness comes to the boughs of the elms, to the places I love. When the wind was singing and the choke pot singing and the white horse singing and the rich way singing, Nataraja, Nataraja, Ananda, Tandavam, I am born. In the age of miracles, well, I'll bet you're here, is the sound of the wind in the fields. Wake up in the nighttime with the silence so close. Hear the same loving ghost that you heard as a boy. Lately I've been living like I'm so far away, like I'm somebody else in some other place. Now the year is turning and the eeriness comes to the boughs of the elms, to the faces I love. Headlights move on tree-lined roads, nativity plays, the dance of our days, the dance of our days, the dance of our days.
The Clientele live on KEXP. Tonight they play at Neumos here in Seattle and a new album, Music for the Age of Miracles. It is so wonderful to hear you all playing here today. It's been a little while since you've had a new record. All these new songs sound so wonderful. Thank you so much for coming in today.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. Thanks for having us.
Alistair, would you introduce this wonderful group? Or anyone can take that task.
I'll do. I don't mind. This is James Hornsey on bass. We have Mark Keane on drums. And my name's Alistair, and I play guitar and sing.
You have quite a collection of wonderful releases that span almost 2 decades, and you took about a 7-year hiatus. And I remember reading something from your project More de Dias, where you had an interview where you said that the band was on hiatus until you had enough good Clientele ideas and songs that you would make a great new record with them, and that you hoped it wouldn't take too long, but however it took, that's what you were going to take. And quite a few years passed, and I was sort of, my curiosity piqued because it sounds like the catalyst for making a new record was running into an old friend who played kind of a unique instrument. And
yeah,
tell me about that.
Well, I lived in an area of East London, and I was just walking around aimlessly one day, and I heard this guy saying Alistair, and it turned out to be Anthony Harmer, who I'd known when I was 17 or 18. And we worked together then, and we played guitar together quite nicely, but we were both quite bossy. You know, like when you're 17, that's what you're like. And we kind of couldn't work together very easily. We could never decide on anything finally, so we went our separate ways, and I formed the Clientele. And it turned out he was living 2 streets away from me. And during the time that I'd been making records, he'd been really learning to play really well a Persian dulcimer called the santur. So that kind of sparked the Clientele getting back, because I thought, oh, maybe he can teach me a bit about Eastern scales, you know, like Persian classical music. Maybe there's a chance for us to do something new and different.
Is that a sound that you had used before? I'm curious what made that, for you, say, this is a new Clientele record.
Well, you know, like every kind of band that likes the Beatles does their raga rock thing and twiddles about, but there are actually really strict rules around Indian classical music that I didn't quite understand, and I was interested to learn it from somebody who, you know, really knew his stuff.
Tell me about the title of this record.
I suppose that it's, I feel like we are living in a time at the moment where there's, certainly in our 2 countries, there's a lot of magical thinking, there's a lot of irrationality, and believing that a kind of a past that's gone forever will come back. And so the title was ironic in that way. It was like, here's your music for the time you're in now, because enjoy it, you know. But it also was about, there's more of a sense of wonder to it as well. So it's a kind of a dual thing, you know. I guess, you know, I had a little son, and that seemed to me like a miracle. So I suppose it's those 2 things, the ugly and the beautiful, together.
There are a lot of magical themes in this record, celestial bodies, like that last song, and you do have some recurring themes. Orpheus pops up here and there, and I had read somewhere recently that you were working on, or perhaps finished with, a book on Orpheus, and I'm wondering what captivates you about that story.
Well, again, I think that the myth of Orpheus is very relevant to the time we live in, because it's all about looking back at something impossible that's lost unbearably forever because you look back at it. And I feel like that's where maybe culturally we are as a society, because we're looking back at something that's impossible, that's gone. And it's the grief of that, really. You know, that's a big theme in the record.
The instrumentation and the arrangement on this record are so lush and so complex, very, very beautiful. And after so much time and so much experience and playing music for so long, it seems like you tried some new things in here, and it makes me wonder what that time for writing was like, and in the studio. It seems sort of like boundless.
Well, you know, we recorded everything very quickly in the studio. So a song would take a single day sometimes, but we spent years preparing the arrangements, and just had the luxury because, you know, with the Clientele, the less we came back and the less interviews we did, the more royalty checks seemed to come in. So,
that's curious.
Yeah, so we had like a long time just to sit around, and if inspiration didn't come, if a melody or counter melody or harmony wasn't there, we could just wait 3, 6, 9, 12 months and wait for it to appear out of the ether and then add it in. So that's what we just waited to do, really.
Do you feel like you had even more ideas than you were able to fit on this record?
I'd say some of us did, yeah.
We've got the Clientele live here on KEXP. Music for the Age of Miracles is the newest album. And what have you got next?
This is called The Museum of Fog, and we have Alicia Macanas to read it for us.
One Friday night, in late summer, I was walking the old canal. Cars passed, open windows blaring hits by Madonna, but layers overhung the road. I left the towpath as the light began to fail, and found myself in a pub car park. From its battered side, I recognized the Fox and Hounds I'd last visited 2 decades ago, before I'd left the town for good. The 16-year-old slumped over an illegal rum and coke. A policeman had been striding towards the door, and the landlady bundled me and my friends out of a window in the gents' toilets, from which we nimbly landed on the canal towpath and melted into the night, laughing. Inside, nothing had changed. The Duke still boasted a 45 by twinkle, 30 years after they had dropped out of the charts. Mock to the window still faced the road, and oak beams have all blackened in a fog of smoke. No one was drinking there. The crowd didn't begin to gather until 9. Kids, not cool exactly, but somehow leonine. I guess from the posters on the walls they come to see a band, and soon they were fading past me, paying an entrance fee to a man in stonewashed denim, and disappearing into a back room. The idea of a night drinking alone was unpleasant to me. The pub was now empty. I had nothing to lose, and I picked up my beer, paid my money, and followed them in. The room was cramped and dark, and during a momentary hush, a singer on the stage was introduced as the Phantom. He was wearing the kind of plastic mask sold in art shops, and a superhero's cape. To a round of applause, several other musicians formed a circle, arms turning on each other like wagons on a prairie. I looked around me. The crowd was bathed in the red glow of the stage lights. For a moment, the bass band filled the expectant quiet. Then, without a count in, the band began to play. Almost immediately, I froze. The sound their instruments made was almost human. My beer glass slithered through my fingers as I recognized it was my own 16-year-old laughter, escaping through a toilet window, retreating from a policeman, dragged back through the long track of years which had passed, and represented, relieved in front of the audience. In its disembodied state, it was one of the most purely beautiful things I have ever heard. It briefly brought the past back to life. All hopes and innocence burst into sudden flower. I was sweating, shaking in the dark room, tears welling in my eyes. But within seconds, the laughter died and the hair on my arms stood up. I had the physical sensation of shapes evaporating away into the night outside. Slowly, the music took on a harsher, more abstract tenor, and in it I heard the faint seashore noises of the motorway, building into a long drone which slowly became overwhelming, roaring like a jet engine. To me, at that moment, it seemed to express her years of living without motorway sound, years of it underscoring every day at night, every experience we'd lived through, cleansing it from our bodies and minds in a deafening catharsis. I was shaking as the band rounded the set out with the wash of bells or wind chimes. As they left the stage to scattered applause, it occurred to me that the Phantom had not signed a note. He was pushing through the crowd towards the exit, hemmed in by acolytes. I tried to get near him, but I couldn't. Dazzled by the sad and bright light in the room, my certainty drifted away. Had the sounds I'd heard been exactly what I thought they were? I was in a difficult, neurotic state, and perhaps there were memories welling up that I couldn't control. I felt suddenly depressed and tired, disgusted with my own numbness. Kids were leaving, ignition starting up outside. The Phantom had joined a carload, rolling on up the road towards the town and its only nightclub. The pub was closing down. I stood in the night, and I wondered what had been taken from me.
That was the Museum of Fog from the new album Music for the Age of Miracles from the Clientele. That was fabulous.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much. It's really wonderful to have you here today. You can see this band play tonight in Seattle at Neumos, and tomorrow they will be at Mississippi Studios in Portland. Such a pleasure. Again, thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
You've got to tune to KEXP Seattle. Discover new music at listener-powered KEXP.org.